using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Waking the worlds up physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel so good in that body of yours objectively. Objectively? How's that even freaking possible? Well, let's talk a little bit more about it today on Mover Monday. Today is August 30th, Monday, 2021. Judge Judy Slayer. And thank you for the host, Herbie Like. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are, whenever thou art. Are you ready for another Mover Monday? On Pago On, where we're going to talk about some body magic tricks to make you feel so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would. Feel without. Stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning. So let's talk about looking at the mouth, guys. What do you mean looking at the mouth? Let's soft focus and look at the mouth and the benefits of that. Maybe we're doing it wrong. We'll be right back. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are, whenever thou art. Are you ready to feel so good in that body of yours? Are you ready to feel so good from the inside out? Are you ready to get that body feeling so authentic and in the moment? Using some body magic tricks. What do you mean by body magic tricks? As in, would you please pretend with me for a second? Just like, pretend with me for a second that there is a candle in front of the lips. Like a lit candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out, please. Like 1 to 2 inches. And you're not trying to like breathe in or breathe out. You're just like, it's just in front of your lips and you're just trying to not put it out. Simply pretend that with me, please. Even while I'm talking to you, just allow these words to go in one ear and out the other. Don't hard focus, as we will talk about today. Don't hard focus. Don't hard focus on what's happening right now, but soft focus. And just kind of use a soft stare or a blurred focus, even to just listening to me. Allow these words to go in one ear, not the other. More importantly, just pay attention to that candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And it's always there. And it's always there. Always there, no matter what you're doing backflips, if you're running or jogging, if you're swimming, if you're underwater, if you're upstairs, downstairs, if you are outer space or right here down in gravity land. Wherever you are, whenever thou art. There's always a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. Try that on for size for a little bit. If you don't like it, go back to doing whatever the heck you were doing. But with me, while you're here, while you're freaking here on Pago On for the next hour or so, please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. Today we're going to talk about looking at the mouth. Always please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips. As we move forward, it can get pretty intense. Please always remember to place that candle into your awareness. That candle in front of the lips into your awareness that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so, observing the sense of self always. want to, please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out as you leave your swallowing muscles alone and observe your sense of self as this happens. Please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. One more time, say it with me in your head, even if you can't say it out loud. Leave those swallowing muscles alone. One more time, please say it with me in your head. Even if you can't say it out loud, just say it with me in your head. Leave those swallowing muscles alone. As you observe your sense of self. And how does that feel for you? As you are not trying to do anything in particular, but just shift your awareness, that superpower that you have. Just shift your awareness to a candle being in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. It's like an awareness of an intent, right? Of an intent in a situation. And remember to ask yourself always, even if it's just in your head. Ask with me. Are you leaving your swallowing muscles alone? Ask yourself with me. Ask. Are you leaving your swallowing muscles alone? And how might that feel for you? Is it odd? Does it hurt? Wherever you are, whether you are... Are you walking your dog? Are you chilling at the beach? Did you find this on your own, or did someone show you this? What's up, friends? How's it going, family? Are you feeling the front of thy shins today? Are you ready to talk about looking at the mouth? If you're with a partner right now, or if you're alone, I'd like you to practice looking at the mouth. Try looking at the mouth. To be happy. To feel great. To interact with people authentically. Which is the best we could ask for anybody. Maybe we can't ask for an outside, objective, performance-based measurement of how people should live. But perhaps we can look at a specific kind of behavior. Maybe not a specific kind of objective measurement of how people should behave, but perhaps we could look at the behavior itself. And what that could be like. What similarities we could find there. And when we look at behavior and not objective measurements of some kind of outside world or objective, calculatable metric for how people should live, perhaps using what we know about what people want, we can look at and describe how people could want to behave when they live. And one way we all know is similar between all of us, it seems, is the desire to be authentic. Above all things, authenticity. Why? Because you can't measure how good is enough height. You're talking about physical reflections of ourselves. How dark is enough skin? How light is enough skin? How good is a smell enough for somebody? How do you make someone beautiful? How do you make someone handsome? How do you make someone attractive? No outside specific measurement, right? Subjective. But what people can always measure towards, no matter what, that's actually surprisingly not subjective, or less subjective, surprisingly less subjective than any kind of other measurement of how good people are, is authenticity. One-to-oneness with what they wanted to on the inside, the intent on the inside. Why is that so important? Well, isn't it so important that even if it gets denied, even if it gets rejected, whatever that authentic expression of yourself was, even if it gets denied, even if it gets rejected, when it is wholly authentic, wholly what you felt you were 100% capable of doing in that moment, are you not getting the most honest feedback on what you're doing? Don't you get the most honest feedback of what you're doing? And doesn't that help you make the best orientation for yourself in the future as you continue to make changes for yourself? Isn't it so difficult to make changes for yourself when there are lies involved, when you cannot understand what is going on, when you cannot see whether or not your work that you've been putting in is going one-to-one towards this consequence? Isn't it so much harder to orient yourself? Authenticity. Aren't we just trying to be authentic so that the world can respond to us authentically, so we can trust the information that we're getting from the world, so we can continue to orient ourselves towards whatever we think we need, whatever we think we want? Isn't it important for us to be authentic so we can be sure that what we're doing is the most we can give, so the world is giving us it most that we can give, so we can understand what we're doing? Because isn't there only so much time on earth? Aren't we always trying to reorient ourselves towards something better? Aren't we constantly growing? Hashtag constantly growing. Authenticity. No small order. How do we get more of that? Let's look at the mouth. What does it mean to look at people's mouths? We'll be right back. Wherever you are, whether you are eating or in a car, or walking, or at a bar, or with your friends, or they're really far. We'll be right back. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. Stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning. Remember to allow all of these words enter one ear, ew, and out the other, always. Do not be fooled by language and people themselves. Words are just words. Always allow the words to go in one ear and out the other, for we always appreciate and respond to meaning first before object. We respond to meaning before object. We react to meaning, not object. We react to meaning, not object. The whole basis of sarcasm itself. The reason why sarcasm is not understood typically until after the age of at least 13. Typically. Check me. Looking at people's mouths, being authentic. What's the point of being authentic? Throughout life, you might be walking through life. Walking, running, jogging, whatever you like to do. Sitting in a spaceship, traveling through time. Whatever it is that you like to do. Authenticity has always been something that has been something alluded to. But how do you be authentic? Who are you? Don't you want people to see you a certain way? Isn't that you? Let's say you are someone who wants to be a dentist because you want people to see you as a dentist. Is that you? Isn't that you? How do you be authentic? Are you being a dentist because you want to? Are you being a dentist because you have people telling you that you want to be a dentist, or that you have people that you think would be impressed if you were a dentist? Why do you want to be a dentist? How do we be authentic? And why does it matter to be authentic? Aren't we always being authentic? As you're pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. Today on Mover Monday, we talk about the body itself and how it's a complete reflection of what you're doing on the inside too, mentally. So why would you want to be authentic? Don't we want to be liked by people? Don't we want to be liked by people if we are operating on that idea of caring whether or not people like us? Are we being authentic? What is being authentic? Why does it matter to be authentic? Why can't we simply choose what we know people want us to be? Why not imitate what we know people want us to be liked more often? Why not appear to be more generous so that people like my stuff more? On social medias, on Twitter, why not express more similar opinions to people so that I do not have to deal with the social repercussions of having a different opinion, like liking this album? Why is it not okay to see that an album is bad if everybody sees it's bad? Why is it important to only participate in behavior that you actually agree with rather than simply calming down and going along with it for now, so that we don't ruffle any feathers as we assume we all are thinking the same things? Why? Why might it be better? Why might it be better to ruffle the feathers and perhaps aim for that authenticity, which would be non-people pleasing, which would be expressing how thyself feels from the inside, which would be connecting with thyself inside, which would be pretending there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out and to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. How do you know anything without being authentic? When you're a child and you're looking at your parents and you're looking at, and they're like, hey, do your homework. Did you do your homework? Or they say, hey, did you, did you, did you clean the thing I told you to clean? And you're looking at them and you're like, oh, I didn't do it, but I don't know how to say this without getting them angry. And then, do you remember how that made you feel? Where do we look at people's eyes? I mean, when we use our eyes, when we're talking to our parents, when we're talking to, like when you're a child, right? How traumatizing is it for a child to not know how to speak to a parent? You have all these complex thoughts. You're like, I didn't mean to do it. And your parents are like, wow, how could you do this? And they take it all personally. How could you break that piece of pottery? How could you break that mirror? How could you play football in the house again after I told you not to play football? How could you slap me in the face on accident when I asked for a hug? And you're just a child and you're just trying to explain to them that you're just really excited, but then you get hurt because like you didn't want it to be taken personally and blah 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 blah. How is it possible for like these children? Imagine how traumatized you are as a kid looking at your mom or dad. You're like, I don't know how to express to you all these complex feelings. I didn't mean to do that. You're like 1-year-old, 2-year-old. And they're like, how could you slap me? Can you imagine taking this personally from children? But we do. And then how do we react to the child? Get all mad. And then how traumatizing is that for the child to have these complex emotions? Because they have emotions, they just can't express it, right? How traumatizing for the child to not be able to express to somebody how they're feeling when they feel aggressed on like that as a child. And what's worse is that these are usually your families, right? So you grow. You don't know right from wrong. So these are your family, the people who take care of you, people that literally are going to ensure your survival as a little baby child thing. So as a little baby child thing, you know you can't upset them, but you know you have to express your emotions. How traumatizing, because if you upset them, I mean, imagine you're a caveman, you get thrown off the caravan, you're like, bye-bye. Imagine you upset them. So these baby childs, you know that you're not supposed to upset them. But how do you not upset them while you're still feeling all this turmoil inside? And they get upset for you feeling all this turmoil inside, but you can't express that turmoil inside because you are a little baby child. What then? Isn't that so traumatizing? For the parents to say like, yeah, get all angry at the child and then the child's like, stop being angry with me. And then mom and dad's like, I'm not angry with you. And the child's like, what? Are you gonna gaslight me? But they don't know what gaslighting is. So how traumatizing. They just have to change their entire personality for that, right? So when we say authenticity, we mean not everybody stays in that themselves mode. People grow up and have to learn how to live with the people that they're raised with. They have to learn to live with those limitations. So how authentic, quote unquote, are they being? How much of themselves are they being? Or how much are they just applying to these rules that they believe they need to follow to survive, right? So how do we approach authenticity? Well, here on Mover Monday, we talk about looking at the mouth. How beneficial would it have been for a child to know that you can look at the mouth, you don't must look at the eyes when people tell you to look at them? When people tell you to look at them, they don't always mean to look at just the eyes. I have proof for this. When people say, look at the eyes, when people say, look at me in the eyes, when people say, make eye contact, they do not mean look directly at the eyes. Why is this an issue? Because looking directly at the eyes, as our bodies are this entire map of our intention and our history in our lives, looking directly at people's eyes tells something about your intentions, right? And so how you look, how you glance, people can see this, people's brain likes, we're all the same, right? We're all the same human beings. So people are so quick to react to small things like that we don't realize subconsciously how fast you're reacting to small little micro movements like that. So looking directly at the eyes, you would think, just because we look with our eyes, you would think that that's where you want to direct your attention, with the eyes when you speak to someone. Right? But how come when you look at parents, or when you look at adults when you're a child, when you look at certain people, how come looking at the eyes is a defiant thing then, huh? Why is that a thing? If it's always like, look me in the eyes, and eyes are an intimate thing, eyes are a good thing, eye contact's a good thing, then how come eye contact can be a defiant thing? Right? Check me. Am I not being true on that? Looking at your parents' eyes directly. Isn't there some cultures, right? Don't look me in the eyes, right? It's dishonorable or it's disrespectful. So how can eye contact both be a defiant thing and also a respectful thing? Isn't it more complicated than that? Isn't our eye contact, isn't our vision more complicated than that? How do you know this? Well, how is it possible to focus directly on an eyeball? How much tunnel vision do you need? How much tunnel vision are we talking about? We know our eyes can focus on different things at different depths. So if you focus on something like your nose, or if you focus on a candle in front of the lips, or how your foot is feeling, while your eyes are glaring at their eyes, while your eyes are looking at their eyes, your eyes might be fixated on their eyeball, but your attention is on your back of bottom heel, right? As I'm just asking you right now. Imagine you're looking at my eyeballs, or imagine you're looking at your own eyeballs, or anybody's eyeballs. You can place your awareness on their eyeballs with your sight on their eyeballs, or you can also have your sight on their eyeballs, but your awareness totally focused on your heels or something, on your own body. Isn't that possible? Just because your eyes vision-wise are fixated on something doesn't mean your eyes awareness-wise are fixated on something, and that is a huge distinction, right? You can soft focus your eyes, as in you can choose to focus on any distance between here and infinity, here and this screen. You can choose any degree of distance to focus on, right? If you place a paper between, or if you put your finger or a paper on your nose and move it between the nose and whatever is furthest in your distance, you can focus on all of those and have your vision still including all of those things that it's still including in the background, right? Your vision is still including everything. Might be those eyeballs that they're telling you to look at. Your vision's still including those, yet your awareness is not focused on that, on what your vision is including, right? We can soft focus. We can use a blurred focus or a softened stare in life, can't we not? One way to improve or practice on that is simply to let your vision not become where you live. Do not live in your vision. Do not let your vision become your utmost prioritized sense, but perhaps try choosing your touch. Try choosing your kinesthesia. Try using your hearing as your primary sense of awareness right now. And simply shift between that and becoming aware of what is in your vision at the moment as well, whether it be a soft focus, softened stare, a blurred focus, or a hardened stare on something specific, and then shift back to your awareness of your hearing, perhaps. Now, isn't your vision technically on something, but it's not a hard stare, right? Now, what if you soft focused on people's mouths while you spoke to them? How does that feel for you? Don't we live more in our mouths? Don't our mouths communicate more of what we're thinking and what we're doing? If you're paying attention to someone's mouth, are you not paying attention to more of who they are, what they're expressing at the moment? Is that not true? Do we need direct eye contact? Can we place our visions on the eyeballs and our awareness on the mouths? I challenge you. I'll be right back. using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual inner strength. Waking the world up, waking your inner worlds up. Physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel better. Objectively. How? Well, through the help of that amazing window to godlike experience that you are. With the help of your only no nonsense podcast through your best feeling network. I hope you're ready to once again stretch our self-awareness like a muscle this morning as we're allowing the words to go in one ear and out the other like a cartoon character. Imagine these words physically manifesting and going into one ear and out the other as we observe our sense of self. What do you mean observe your sense of self? As in your kinesthetic experience. You know how your body sometimes feels like it got off the right side of the bed or the wrong side of the bed? Where does that feeling locate? Where is that feeling located? Your sense of self, as in sometimes your body feels separated from itself and sometimes it feels whole, right? No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. Like, think about when you get a stomach ache, right? You don't normally feel your stomach throughout life until you get a stomach ache, and then it starts to be felt again. It feels othered, it feels separated, right? It feels like it's a different part of your body. You feel like you can distinguish it now. But then when it goes away, what you're looking for, right, is a feeling of oneness again. Your body feels like a one again. There's no distinction between your stomach and the rest of your body. It is balanced and feels equal. Feeling so good and feeling so one with our bodies. Our bodies have these desires to feel oneness with itself, to not feel fragmented. Why might it feel fragmented? Well, it might feel endangered also. Think about when children feel like they lied to their parents. Why do they lie to their parents? Well, they might be scared of some kind of consequence, whether that be social, whether that be a timeout, whether that be a scolding, whether that be a look, whether that be an abandonment of just a pretend of, oh, I don't love you no more, right? Kids might be deathly afraid of that because abandonment for children literally means death, even in an illogical sense. It means death, especially the younger they are. So why might kids fragment? Well, it might feel like it's dangerous to be themselves. It might feel dangerous to not lie. And you might say, well, they shouldn't lie. It's bad to lie. Okay, well, the consequences of the truth to them may feel more severe. As irrational as they may be to your eyes as a child, they are actually very logical. As a little childlike baby thing, they know intuitively that they are helpless without whomever is taking care of them. So the emotions of whomever is taking care of them becomes their utmost priority if they feel ever that there's some kind of abandonment issue there. Which abandonment could look like a lot of things, right? It could look like taking too long to pick them up. It could look like letting them cry too long. It could look like being a little late on feeding them. It could look like actually leaving the room even as a joke. It could look like plenty of things because these children are hyper focused on survival at this time. So why might they fragment? Well, again, they might feel that it's more unsafe to be themselves, to be exactly what they were supposed to be, which is honest or just like expressing what they did honestly. It might feel more dangerous to be that way if there is a history of some kind of consequence that could feel like an abandonment issue that they could not overcome. And so looking at a parent who might be upset with the mirror that they broke, and say the parent, their particular abandonment issue that they chose was anger, right? And so their parents are like yelling at them for this mirror that the kid broke, maybe with a football or something. And so here on Mover Monday, as we're talking about like what the heck to do in these body of ours, we're always just looking for ways to be, right? As a child, you're just like, what do? I want to survive, but like I have to answer this question, but like I feel like if I answer this question, I'm not going to be able to overcome the situation that comes after, which is like this emotional burden, which kids don't know how to deal with because it's like life or death for them. Emotional burdens for children are like life or death when it comes to the parents, because the parents, if emotional, the children know that there is a chance of the parent doing something of survival consequence to the child. And so instead of just speaking the authentic truth about what happened in life, in time, in this timeline, instead of just describing what happened, the kids get into a habit of twisting words, of lying, doing things for their own survival. Why? Because when they look at the eyes, how do we be in life? When we look at the eyes, wasn't it scary to look at the parents' eyes when there's all this anger involved? Especially when a child knows that anger is life or death for a child. Or it can feel like life or death for a child, because abandonment issues. Anger is one of those abandonment issues. As abandonment issues are just like for a child is anytime the child was not getting the proper love that children should be getting at that age, which would mean patience, which would mean not abandoning them physically, which would mean speaking to them honestly, which would mean not lying to them, which would mean, again, abandonment issues. Not having abandonment issues would be not being angry with them, because for a child they need to be able to express what they're thinking so that they can get an honest read on what the world believes and understands about their ideas. And they can't get that if they're worried about their survival. How might they be worried about their survival? Well, managing a parent's emotions is survival for a child, because from a child in infancy, as they get older, as an infant, they immediately know the reality, which is the people taking care of me, the child. They are fully responsible for my survival, so it becomes more important to manage their emotions so that they take care of me, so that they don't get so fed up that they leave me. That's more important than the objective truth, because the one who's going to care about the one who's going to provide for my survival are these people, these parents that I might be afraid of upsetting emotionally. And as a child, it's a very true thing, right? When you are this little baby-like thing, when you are this like 5-week-old, 2-day-old, 3-month-old, there is something deep within you that is so true. It is very true, which is that upsetting the people that you are in care, who are caring for you, upsetting them can lead to a certain death for a little childlike baby-like thing, but that never leaves you. So these people, as you get older, managing their emotions becomes more important than the objective truth, because who cares about objective truth if I'm dead, if my body's dead? So if your body's dead, who cares about objective truth? And in our realities, we create a reality in our worlds because of having to deal with abandonment issues as we grow up. Our survival does mean the emotional agreeableness. Our survival does depend on the people being in a good mood, the people who care about us. So that becomes more important than authenticity. That becomes more important than being objective to the truth. What the hell does all this have to do with looking at the mouth? But isn't it so scary as a child when your parents say, look at me, look at me, look at me in the eyes? And so how hard is it to be your authentic self? How hard was it to gather information about the world? How hard was it to be yourself with your own family when you were intimidated every time you look at them? The people that you love, the people that you so-called love, the people that you're supposed to be yours, the people who are supposed to be your clan, the one who are there for you. And it might feel so great when they're not around, and you might ride or die for them, but then the second that you try to look and interact with them, it feels awkward. It's hard to be yourself. You feel like you have to align with some kind of rules that they set for you. Look at my eyes. Isn't that so scary to look at their eyes, as their eyes are just reflecting too honestly sometimes how they're feeling at that moment, even though it might not reflect how they feel overall. It might be too honestly reflecting their emotions at the moment. And isn't that so scary for a child? So is the child really responding to how they want to treat that parent? Or is the child just responding to this feeling of anger, this feeling of endangerment through emotions? Are they responding by being themselves, by treating you or treating the parent or treating whomever the way that they would normally treat them? Or are they locked in by this idea of trying to appease some emotional trauma? Are they locked into this idea of trying to manage someone's emotions before they actually give an honest reflection of who they are? Are they not spending too much energy over there when they could be spending energy on being authentic, on being themselves, which is something they can continuously practice on? What good would have come from an entire lifespan of being able to actually communicate with your parents, knowing that you could look at their mouth or their forehead instead of their eyes and still give them the attention that they want, that they're asking for, without giving off the message of defiance? In which, when you were a kid, because you know survival to be good, you would not be defiant. You know that you weren't being defiant, but yet as a child, we were often mislabeled as being defiant when we know we weren't. Were we looking directly at the eyes when we could have been looking at the forehead or looking at the mouth, communicating the same exact message, the same message we wanted, and at the same time improving our message that we were sending because we weren't sending this accidental message of defiance, which we didn't know? So try for yourself. I challenge you to try for yourself. Try looking at someone's mouth today as we're speaking to them. How does that make you feel? Do you feel like you lose any attention in any way? Or do you feel like do you gain the ability to pay more attention to what they're saying by not being afraid of what their eyes are saying? And yet their eyes aren't completely out of focus, right? When you look at their mouth, their eyes are still in awareness. Right? You can look at their mouth, but their eyes are still in awareness. And how does that feel for you? Odd, strange, new, bad, good? How does that feel for you? We're always talking on Pagawan about how you can't really hide yourself. You can't really hide anything you do. It always ends up manifesting. It always ends up showing. Let alone to the people who love you. Let alone to the people who actually pay attention to you. Your changes show. We must not needs even ask for them to notice. Our changes show. Manifestly. As in, they manifest into the outside world just by them being in your awareness. It is spoken to the outside world through your actions. So with that super powerful message that's always being transmitted to the outside world, isn't it all we ever wanted to just be authentic? So that we can get an honest reflection of it, so we can continue to orient towards ourselves, towards perfection of whatever it is that we think we want to be. Don't we need an honest reflection of that so that we can honestly fix it? Why is that important? Well, what if someone's lying to you about where the problem is on your car? Well, how are you going to fix your car? You need an honest reflection, right? It's not a bad or good thing. It's just, well, it is a good thing to be honest, but pointing out a specific issue or criticism isn't necessarily a bad thing unless there's lies involved. But if there's honesty involved, aren't you just allowing someone to reorient you? Shouldn't you be thankful? Shouldn't we all be thankful? How do we go about being authentic while not thinking about staring at the eyeballs, as that can sometimes scare us? And we know on Pagawan, as we talk about, you can't really hide yourself. Both ways. They can't hide it in their eyes, and you can't hide it in your eyes. If you get afraid of their eyes, which we do. We're pretty much programmed to get afraid of eye contact by now. For the last decades, last century, been programmed as our parents, and then their parents, and then their parents, and then their parents have been like, look at me in the eyes, as an intimidation tactic, not to understand but to intimidate, as both people are just getting their feelings hurt, the parents, the child. Well, what happens if we just look at each other's mouths? You can't focus your eyes completely on the mouth anyway. The eyes are always going to be in focus there anyway. What happens if you try to focus on the mouth? How does that feel? Are you able to communicate? Are you able to understand them? Are you able to sit with more nerve? Are you able to listen to them longer? Are you able to observe them with more honesty? Are you able to allow your emotions to be more to the side as you just observe the moment, as you look at their mouth and not be intimidated by their eye contact, or intimidate them with eye contact, which is just now back and forth, back and forth. Oh my god, intimidating me. Oh, you're gonna intimidate me. I'm gonna intimidate you. You're gonna intimidate me. I'm gonna intimidate you. Right? What if we looked at their mouths, but kept everything in awareness? Soft focus, as we would say. What if we just looked at their mouths? We'll be right back. Looking at the mouth, looking at the mouth. It feels so good from the inside out. Why does it matter to look at the mouth? Don't we change ourselves when we get a little bit afraid? Doesn't anxiety kind of change our actions? Haven't we made decisions in our lives where we're like, whoa, that's not what I was trying to do? Something took over me. I was angry. I was sad. I was depressed. That was not me. Do those feelings not exist when you were a child? A baby thing? No. I mean, yes, of course they do. Of course those feelings exist when you're a child. When you're a child, it's just very hard to describe what you're going through. But of course, when you get anxious as a child or you get scared, let's say you're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, you get scared. Doesn't that change their behavior? Doesn't that change our behavior? Didn't we change our behavior even as a child when we got scared? And so when we do talk back to the parents, or when we did say things, didn't we sometimes regret them, even if it was much later, when we're a little bit more mature, or when we're more calm? And yet there were moments when we were judged by those times in which we lost our cool, and that didn't seem fair to us, because those were the few times where we lost our cool. Didn't seem fair to judge us based on that, because that was like a different version of us, right? It didn't feel like us. It didn't feel fair, right? Because that emotion took over you, and what happened? You ended up feeling what? Less authentic. Yay, right? Authentic. Right? Because when you're angry or when you're upset and you do all these things, doesn't that take you away from a feeling of authenticity? Doesn't authenticity come from feeling grounded, from having a softer focus and not having this super hard, intense, emotionally driven focus on someone's eyeballs, possibly? When you're all angry, when you're all enraged, but doesn't authenticity come from perhaps sitting in the moment, maybe looking at their mouths, maybe having their eyes in their awareness and paying attention to it, but perhaps looking at the mouth with a softened stare, a blurred focus, as you are paying more attention maybe to the hearing, the ears, the sounds, as opposed to what you're looking at. Isn't it easier to be authentic when you're not afraid? And isn't it easier to not be afraid when you're not staring directly at their eyes and seeing every little emotion that they're feeling? We know that every little emotion that we're feeling is not necessarily what we want to be expressing either. It's not necessarily what is authentic about us either. So when we're looking at the eyeballs, aren't we sometimes getting an improper idea of what they're feeling on the inside too, as their feelings are this imperfect reflection of all of their thoughts? It's so hard to understand people, right? So you have these eyeballs, which sometimes are too quick, and we might make sometimes too quick assumptions of what they mean. So is it easier or harder to be authentic when we're looking directly at those eyeballs, when they are giving such direct language? Or sometimes is it easier to look at the mouths and feel more authentic looking at the mouths instead? Not just because we're listening more, but because it allows us to be more of our authentic self, as we're not thinking about the consequences of what their eyes are implying, but rather just simply about thinking about the words as they're existing in this moment, as they are transient, right? These words that we speak are like moments in time. Bloop. Right? So we pay attention to them. They go in one ear and out the other. That's kind of a good thing, and it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Bad thing because you're like, I want to hold on to it, but it's a good thing because you don't have to hold on to it. These words. Whereas the eyes, once again, it's not going to be haunting you. You're staring at the eyes. You're seeing all those little small glares that they're making, you know. But don't we get more information sometimes by soft focusing, by perhaps drawing our attention to the mouths with our vision, and keeping everything in awareness still, of course. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world, always focusing on our own self-awareness. Wherever you are, whether you are looking at a partner, whether you are in bed with a partner, or you are alone, single, with your feet kicked up and hanging out. Whether you're eating, or whether you are sleeping, or whether you are not eating, or maybe you're just drinking water. What you doing right now? Making PB&J? Did I catch you? Are you in a bubble, maybe floating away? Where you going? Wherever you are, if you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone and observe your sense of self as you do so. What kind of focus is offered to you in your periphery? What kind of focus is offered to you through your vision? What kind of focus is offered to you through your hearing? Where is that all located? As you're pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out, and to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so, and observe your sense of self. What is even vision? When people say stare at that, when people say look at me in the eyes, what even is vision? As yes, your eyes can be looking at one thing, but your awareness can be on another thing. Isn't your awareness more of what your eyes are really on? What your mind's eye is really on? What kind of changes could have come about in your life? What kind of changes could have come about in my life? If I was able to look at people directly in the eyes and assure them that I did not have ill intentions, what kind of good would have come from your life? All of the hundreds of thousands of times that you've encountered people, perhaps gave the wrong impression. Maybe your mind was on something else. Perhaps you didn't know how to look at them and communicate the proper message to them. How many times have we been misunderstood throughout our lives? And what good could come from fixing those misunderstandings? What good could come from fixing those misunderstandings? I challenge you to stare at people's mouths, if anything, today. Not hard focus. You don't need to hard focus. You could soft focus. How do you soft focus? Well, try placing something in your vision, but placing your awareness on something in your body. Isn't that interesting? I challenge you today. Soft focus on people's mouths today instead of their eyeballs. Or their forehead. Either one. Their mouths or their forehead. Notice how they're above or below the eyeballs. Not necessarily on the same plane. Because us ourselves, we know internally we don't necessarily look with just our eyeballs, as we are discovering, right? We look with our entire body. We decide what to focus on. Our eyes are one instrument towards that. I challenge you today to stare at people's mouths today as we speak, as we communicate and interact with people. Soft focus. Using your body's awareness, you can keep your eyes in awareness. Keep the soft focus on the mouth and the lips today, as we are pretending there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so, and observe your sense of self always. Feels so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. This has been so fun, and it's been another Mover Monday. It is August 30, 2021. Monday, Mover Monday, we talk about... I challenge you to stare at people's mouths today. Soft focus. You know what to do. Pretend there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. Go ahead and soft focus. Use your body's awareness and that vision as a tool. We'll see you back here tomorrow on True Love Tuesday. Do not skip school. We love you guys. Alright. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Have a great one. Have the best one, wherever you are, whenever thou art. Whether you are walking your car, whether you are driving your dog. We'll see you here tomorrow. My name is Herbie. Good morning. And this has been absolutely Have One. Your ass up. Have a fantastic day. I hope you have a fantastic one, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.